people as well, not only with ourselves, but with all of the people of the earth. We pray that this book will circulate throughout the world and let the people know of the world who we are here and about our sacred mountain. Again, I give thanks to the Creator of all things. Wabanaki continues, Creator of all life. Tahoe.
Welcome on behalf as Chief and on behalf of the Penobscot tribe. I want to welcome you here today. We are delighted to have you here, and we are honored by your presence. And I want to thank all other distinguished guests.
Thank you, Chief. I'd like to recognize a few people first. Sub-Chief Ann Padilla is with us this morning. I don't know if there's any council people here from the Penobscot Nation or not. Buzz Cavalier, Director of Baxter State Park, is here representing the Baxter State Park and the Baxter State Park Authority. Ms. Marlow is here with her parents, who she'll introduce later. But my name is Butch Philips, and I've been working with Barry Dana with the Baxter State Park Authority to try to establish a site in Baxter State Park for the Katahdin 100, our spiritual run, which Barry will talk about in a little bit. But I want to say that the Baxter State Park Authority and Buzz Cavalier has been very, very cooperative with the Native people in trying to establish this special site for us in our Katahdin 100 spiritual run and other spiritual ceremonies, and our thanks and gratitude go out to him and the Park Authority. And also to Connie Baxter Marlow. She wrote a book 30 years ago, was a pictorial essay of Baxter State Park and Katahdin, the greatest mountain. It is being republished, and with several chapters in there describing the mountain, and also a chapter by Arnie Neptune talking about the connection between the Wabanaki people and Katahdin and the land around it. And we're much appreciative of Connie's efforts to republish this book, and also to recognize the mountain and the park for what it is, and for the people of the state, and also by recognizing and understanding the connection that the Native people, the Wabanaki people, have with Katahdin, our sacred mountain. She not only recognizes and understands Native Wabanaki people of the Maine area, but across the country and South America as well, being active in other people. And we want to show our appreciation, our thanks for her dedication to Native people everywhere. And this time I'd like to call up Barry Dana for a few words. Barry?
Thanks, by the way. Great being here, and I'd like to thanks for coordinating this. And I'm honored he should ask me to speak, knowing sometimes I don't know what I'm going to say, so it's quite a risk. I'd like to thank Buzz for being here, and Connie and her family for being here, and also all the Wabanaki people for taking part. Butch asked me to talk about Katahdin and its importance to us as a people, and I think it's fairly easy to do if everybody here has been in the shadow of the mountain and has looked at the mountain. Words can't describe one's personal connection with the mountain. I was a freshman in high school the first time I saw it, and at that time I heard some things about Katahdin because it's in our traditions, our legends, but in those they could not convey its specialness until I stood at Chimney Pond and looked up, and I was with a group of freshmen, and they were all running all over the place, and I just stood there with my mouth open. And I thought, I'm going to climb that. And we did. And we got to the top, and everybody scattered, and they went to the peak, and I went off on my own. And without really too much guidance, I felt a very serious connection there. So I promised that as I got older, I would return to the mountain and find out more about it, not based on what others told me, but based on what I would feel. So when I was 18 years old, I went back, and I fasted for 4 days, and I spent 4 days with the mountain. And I found that on a very high level, I connected to the mountain, and I learned things that nobody had ever mentioned. And some things I can convey, and some things I will not convey. There are secrets about the mountain that no one in the circle may ever know, unless you spend time with it. But the connection it gave to me, I brought back to my people. The whole story I may not have told. Part of it I did, and that is, the mountain is a central spot for bringing the Wabanaki people together. But it didn't tell me how to do that. I just saw that in a dream, that all of our people are coming together to the mountain. And a lot of times when we have these special events come to us, they're not fully explained, we have to really give them some serious thought. And I did. And as I gave it thought, I also tried to pull in other experiences I had growing up here on the island. And one was this very special time, actually with both grandparents. My grandmother taught me that we are never to disconnect ourselves with the land. No matter how fancy we get with TV and mass transportation and all that, we still owe our, as Wabanaki people, as Penobscots, we owe our beginnings to this land. So that was a very deep-rooted philosophy. And when I saw the most grandeur aspect of our land, I knew that that was, in fact, the central part. My grandfather told me many stories. I was very fortunate that he came to live with us for a short time, and I sat down at a young age, though I didn't want to sometimes. And when he said, "Sonny, sit down," I had my baseball glove in one hand, I was ready to go, and he said, "Sit down," and I sat down. And he would tell me stories of great endurance, stories that I thought I was one heck of an athlete, but the thing I couldn't begin to compare the stories that he was talking about. And these were things that they did back in a time when they didn't have shoes or fancy clothes. But these things were going up the river. Everybody can do that. People came up the river or running on snowshoes to Lincoln Island and getting there before the horse could do. These stories really deepened my conscious and my subconscious. So I tried to pull this whole thing together, and I sometimes saw the map of Maine, and I saw the green spot in the middle, which is Baxter State Park. And I was thinking of a way in which we could reconnect, because even though we have this deep connection to the mountain, we weren't really doing anything to prove it. So on an individual note, I wanted to reconnect. So I decided this summer I'm going to run to Katahdin. I'm going to start on Indian Island, just like my grandfather did. I won't have snowshoes, because it'll be in September. But I'm going to run up to the mountain and just reconnect. So laying in bed, it seemed like a good idea, and so I started training for it, and come to find out I had strep throat at the time, so it's quite delusionary. I would get up and I would run 3 miles and almost fall down because I didn't know what was wrong with me, and I finally went to the clinic and they gave me some penicillin, and that was great. So I was very excited to feel healthy again, and but the only problem was now at that point I only had 2 weeks to train for it. So I went out in 2 weeks' time and built my mileage up to running 7 miles at a time. And I told my thought to a really good friend of mine, Demakwe, and he said, "Don't worry about the money, I got all the money we need. I'll take care of all the food and all the drinks, and we're all set." And he had this 1962 car that had no brakes. He also didn't have a license. So the first Katahdin 100 was underway, and I didn't know he didn't have a license until Howland. We got pulled over by the police asking what we were doing, and Demakwe looks at me and says, "Who's driving?" I'm the one with running shoes on. And anyway, we came back, and we grabbed the first person we saw, which was Mark Ranko. Mark was just a young fellow at the time. He was on his way over to town to party with some friends, and we literally grabbed him and threw him in the car, and we took off. So the three of us headed north, and we got to Lincoln that first night, and Millinock the second night, and then the mountains the third day. We stopped at Abo because it was the closest campsite to the mountain. Albert had been fasting the whole time. I don't know if it's because he only had enough money for me to eat, or he was he thought that was the thing to do. So I ate the bologna and he fasted. When we got to A-Ball, I said, there, I'm done. He said, no, you're not. Now we're walking over to Katahdin Stream. He hadn't even never been there before, but he saw it on the map and said, this is the place. So we walked over to Katahdin Stream. We left the car. The three of us walked over. And when we got there, we realized why he had thought that, and that is, in the shadow of the mountain, you need to see the mountain, and we could see it from Katahdin Stream. We came home. We were all excited about it, and we thought, along the way, I'd also gotten a thought that this needs to be a tradition. Everybody, I think part of that dream that I had when I was on the mountain, I saw, it kind of came into focus at that point, and I saw a whole string of people running together, running to the mountain. So after people had learned of this event that the three of us had done, there was a lot of excitement about it, and we've been doing it now ever since, and that was 17 years ago. If the mountain wasn't special to us, then this event wouldn't happen. We wouldn't go to the mountain, standing in its shadow, looking for, there needs to be a reason for it. And I tend to operate my life on a theory of genetics. I think deep down inside of us, we have a connection to our past, our traditions, and our culture. Sometimes we can't explain it. We sometimes get different thoughts on how we should conduct our cultures, because inside each one of us, we're connected. As we look to Katahdin, we can see from its beauty and its importance, and that connection tells me that this is a place that we reserve for special times when our people are in special need. And I think the Wabanaki people, because of we're disconnected from our culture and our traditions, we need to reconnect. And on an annual basis, it helps to do that. People were chosen to go to the mountain, and at the mountain they would get the answers that the people were looking for. And I think when we all go to Katahdin, whether we're running or canoeing, or we're on the road crew, or people who just drive up to give us good wishes when we're there, I think we all, in a sense, have been chosen to be there. So we give of ourselves 100% along the way, and it's for the strength of our people. And it's not just our people. We need to also take into consideration that the Wabanaki people are not the only people to use the mountain today, that all cultures have learned from us. They say that we are the keepers of this message, so that we have now opened the door for other cultures, because we need to live together. And if we can come together on such a great activity, a great goal of bringing all people to the mountain, making it special for all of us, then I think we've achieved a great thing. And that's why I personally thank everybody who's here, and the Baxter State Park Authority, the people of Maine, Connie and her family for their vision, and all Wabanaki who will continue to make the mountain a special place in all our own individual ways that we do it.
And over the past 17 years, he's put many, many miles on various roads, on various runs, especially the Katahdin 100. As he mentioned, Mark Ranko assisted in that first year. Both him and Mark are both running, and they are the few of the Wabanaki people who have run to Katahdin the whole 100 miles by themselves in one day, and they've done it under 24 hours at one time. They're getting older, they're getting slower, but they're still moving. And last weekend we had a sacred run from Originator, Quebec to here. It was 285 miles. There was 5 of us who ran, and the first night, Saturday night, while we slept, him and Mark and Barry, again, teamed up. And while we slept overnight, they ran 77 miles during the night, the two of them. I thought it was an incredible job, and their dedication to spiritual running, my hats go off to them. And now I'd like to introduce Connie Baxter Marlow, the person and the reason why we're here today, celebrating the birth of, or rebirth, I should say, of a new book. Let's give Connie a warm Wabanaki welcome.
Thank you, and thank you all for coming here today. I wanted first to honor Arnie Neptune as the elder of the host tribe of the Wabanaki Confederacy. And I wanted to offer this tobacco through him to the Great Spirit, the great loving Spirit that's in all things, that's taking us all to higher ground. So I wanted to offer this tobacco. And I also wanted to honor the Wabanaki people, the 5 tribes of the Wabanaki, the Penobscot, the Maliseet, the Micmac, and the Passamaquoddy and the Abenaki people. I don't know how many are represented here today, but I have a book for each of the tribes that I hope will go into the museums of the tribe. And I just wanted to thank you people for your role model as peace keepers and unity keepers for all nations. And also, I wanted to honor Barry and Butch for their efforts on behalf of the spiritual connection of the Wabanaki people on Katahdin. And so, thank you guys for your efforts in that way. I also wanted to honor my fellow authors who are here today. Butch Caverly from Baxter State Park, who has made an incredible stand for Baxter State Park, for Katahdin, and for my Uncle Percy's vision, and for the wild places in all of us. And I just wanted to honor Buzz, for being here. Butch, Buzz, Barry. We've got a pile of these bees, all these Baxters and Butches and Buzzes. So, sorry about that. And Dennis Kostick, who's here, he and David Westfall have both been working through the years with the Wabanaki elders and communicating Wabanaki spirituality to the world through their films. And I just want to welcome them and honor them for being here. And also Arnie Neptune, who wrote a beautiful piece on the spirit of Katahdin. And it's just such a delight to connect with Arnie, because our ancestors had been connected way in the past, and now Arnie and I are going forward with the spirit of Katahdin to bring its message to the world. So I honor you, Arnie. And I also want to honor my mother and father, Jack and Alice Baxter, my father who's supported my photography endeavors all my life, and without whom this book wouldn't be in existence at this time. The first edition wouldn't have happened, and this one wouldn't have happened because of his ability to support it. So thank you for being here and for being there for me all my life. And I also want to honor my friends, my personal friends, my lifelong friends who are here. And I grew up in Pittsfield, Maine, and still have a lot of loving friends from Pittsfield who are here today. And also, Susie Chaffee could not be here today. She's the director of the Native Voices Foundation in Telluride, Colorado. And I have a letter, Sarah Pletz is going to read a letter from her in a minute, giving her regrets that she couldn't be here. Susie has a foundation that has been helping the Native peoples in Colorado. Susie's, I don't know if any of you know who Susie is, but she's a world champion freestyle skier, known in the 60s as Susie Chapstick, a beautiful blonde skier. And she's taking all of her, everything she accomplished in her life, the contacts she's made and the things she's done in her life, and putting them to work for the Native peoples. And it's a wonderful thing. And the royalties from this book will be going to Native Voices Foundation. And she's already started opening doors. She and Sarah both have started opening doors with some ski areas here in Maine to bring a cultural exchange through skiing to the Native peoples of Maine. So it's all very exciting, and this book will help bring that Western effort east here to Maine. So we'll be hearing from Susie in a minute. And then I wanted to just mention or say that in our headlong rush to wherever it is we're going, where is it we're going anyway, many of us left out what I consider to be an important thing, and that is to acknowledge the other conscious aspects of creation in our lives. And so at this time, I would like to honor the trees that went into making my book. I don't like to call it my book, the book, because there's 6 other authors. So at this time, I'd like to honor those trees that went into making that book with the knowledge that they give of themselves lovingly to humanity so that we can proceed on our journey towards wholeness, that they become paper and homes and things so that we can have shelter and have paper to communicate with on this journey of ours towards wholeness. So I want to honor them. And then I want to also ask that this book take the concepts of love and peace and unity that are found within them and take them out and touch the hearts of everyone who comes in contact with this book. And that the spirit of Katahdin will energetically accompany this book as it goes out into the world and will bring the message of truth and wisdom that it carries to all of us. So now could we hear from Sarah? And Sarah has worked tirelessly in behalf of the Native people on the role of the Native people in the founding of America, in the Constitution of America. And she's actually written a screenplay and done all manner of things in behalf of the Native people. So here's Sarah Platts.
This is from Susie. Hail, distinguished visionaries of Maine, and we truly are here, who is here today, Arnie Neptune and the Wabanaki nations. As a Vermonter born in glorious Wabanaki country, I have fond childhood memories vacationing with my family and ski racing in Maine. I grew up hearing wondrous stories of my father and grandfather hunting and fishing with the Micmac people. But not until last year, when I was honoring an Wabanaki named Wolf Song at a reunion of champions at Pico Peak, Vermont, did I learn that the coach, Joe Jones, who produced 5 of us Olympians, was part Wabanaki. Therefore, I really miss not being with you for this historical celebration, and I want to honor you for creating this euphoric bridge of understanding that is helping preserve the most beautiful face of Maine for all of our children. Scientists say that the wisdom that kept these lands pristine for thousands of years is the key to our survival into the 21st century. I want to honor the Penobscots and the entire Wabanaki Confederacy for keeping your hearts open. With Native American guidance and her family behind her, Connie has become a true wisdom keeper and so eloquently preserving the vision of Governor Percival Baxter and you all, the first families of Maine, in her book. Finally, its depth is being fully appreciated. Katahdin has a radiant smile today because we are joining you in recognizing that this sacred mountain and all earth is a living organism that responds to absolutely everything we do. We found that to be true in Telluride these last 4 years after sharing the joy of flying like eagles on skis with 400 of our Ute, Navajo, and Lakota neighbors, and then honoring the mountain for a blessed season. I bring greetings from my co-chairman of Native Voices, Alden Naranjo, and our board that is a partnership of both cultures. He's a Ute spiritual leader and a dear friend of Connie's and mine. We look forward to royalties from Greatest Mountain to allow us to be here the joy of down the mountains and culture changes with you in Maine soon. With very warm regards, Susie Chappie.
Thanks, Sarah. I also wanted to make mention of our ancestors. I know the ancestors are play a very important part in the Native thinking, and I just wanted to bring them in. My great Uncle Percy and John Neptune, Arnie's great-great-great-grandfather, and all our ancestors who brought us here today. And in the movie Amistad, there was a line that really brought it home for me, and that is when the black man, when asked what he could do for the efforts that were being done in his behalf, he said, all I can do is invoke the spirit of my ancestors, for it is for this day that they ever existed at all. So perhaps there is a secret purpose of history, and perhaps it all has been leading to this day and to the days that come to set the stage for us to go forward and take what they've all laid the groundwork for and walk forward into the human potential and the beauty that we can bring to the world. So, thank you very much.
At this time, I'd like to have Buzz Cavely say a few words. Buzz?
Thank you, Butch. It's a pleasure to be here with everybody today. My granddaughters, Ashley and Jessie, has joined me. This has been an exciting experience for them, rewarding experience for me. Also with us today is a couple of people I'd like to make mention of. Charles Fitzgerald serves on the Baxter State Park Scientific Forest Management Area Advisory Committee. Very supportive of the park, very much involved with the park. I met him 40 years ago on a hike up Katahdin, and he's been a good friend of the parks for many years since. Charles, glad to have you with us. Rachel Tarian is a member of our Baxter Park Advisory Committee, and she is also an avid park user, had a long love and interest in the park, and Rachel, we're glad you're here too. Our congratulations to Connie Marlow Baxter, and appreciate what she does working with the park and with the people. And also it's a pleasure to see John, Mrs. Baxter, Jack, as you know. Glad to have you with us. It's been a long time since I've seen you. I want to thank the Wabanaki people for inviting us down. Also Connie Baxter's children, Allie, Johnny, and their friend Monty. They're here, I think. I don't see him right now, but I met him earlier. But thank you for the opportunity to be here and represent Baxter Park. My granddaughter Ashley, as I started over from East Corinth, I'd started 4:15 this morning working on a trench. My well went dry, so I'm having a new well put in, so I'm out there with a pickaxe this morning trying to touch up the backhoe trench, and I worked before the sun got up, so it was a little cooler. It made sense to me. But as I started over, I was a little late, so Ashley was riding along with me, and she says, she was looking forward to this, and I said, Ashley, can you be my secretary today? I said, I've got some thoughts I don't want to lose track of, and I want to keep in sequence, so could you write these down for me? So she was good enough to give me my script, and I appreciate that very much. We as the people of the state of Maine have in common a very special place in Baxter State Park. You've heard a lot about that this morning. Mount Katahdin and its surrounding lands are reserved for all generations. We are grateful first to the Creator for creating this beautiful land. And we are grateful for the Creator providing us with Governor Percival P. Baxter, that he, as a statesman, he was the resource used to provide these lands according to the people's law for all times. Our mandate is clear according to trust provisions established by 28 deeds over a 32-year period to protect this 204,733 acre resource to the fullest extent, and may it be used for recreational purposes, but in the right, unspoiled way, as Governor Baxter expressed. To many of us who climb Katahdin or spend time within its shadows, it's not just for recreation, but more importantly, a spiritual experience. Late last fall, an AT hiker, Courtney L. Mann, completed a 2,160-mile trip on the Appalachian Trail from Springer Mountain, Georgia, to Katahdin. She was doing this because she was inspired by her grandfather, who felt it was extremely important that she make this trip and make the climb of Katahdin. He was sick with a terminal disease and wasn't expected to live through the 8 months that she was on the trail. But at every opportunity, when she came to a trading post or town, she would call home and talk to her granddad, and he was most inspiring as he gave her encouragement.
When she reached Baxter State Park at Katahdin Stream Campground, it was quite late in the fall, and ice and snow had accumulated on the trails, and we had recommended that there should be no climbing. It just wasn't safe. She waited around for 3 or 4 days, and constantly hanging on was her grandfather back home, waiting for that call that she had successfully climbed Katahdin. About the 3rd day, she decided that regardless of the conditions and the advice she received, time was short and she needed to make the climb, and she went forth. She got within a mile of the plateau on the Appalachian Trail, better known as the Hunt Trail, and got into conditions that were just impossible to climb over, ice, snow, and returned to camp. The next day she returned to town and called her grandfather and said that she had completed the trail with the exception of the last mile. And he was extremely excited, enthusiastic, and had a lifting of his spirits. 3 hours later, he passed away in his sleep with the satisfaction that they had met their objective. So it is a very spiritual. The mountain 1 mile stretching into the skies provides inspiration for all who participate. Each year, over 100,000 people visit Baxter Park, and it's estimated that half or 50,000 of them climb the mountain. The mountain serves as a magnet for those who once visited and who are drawn back again, time after time. Our greatest mountain humbles us with its unpredictable weather, but it also is gentle, beautiful, and represents peace among its earthly siblings. Thus, the importance of it forever to be held in trust by its people, for as Governor Baxter expressed many, many years ago, and many, many times, and in the records, man is born to die, his works are short-lived, buildings crumble and monuments decay, wealth vanishes, but Katahdin in all its glory forever shall remain the mountain of the people of Maine. And again, thank you very, very much for allowing me to be here.
Thank you, Buzz. As we mentioned several times, Katahdin is very special to the Wabanaki people. And as Barry mentioned on the spiritual run every year, it's a run of individuals making a journey to our sacred mountain. Many private reasons for going to the mountain. However private, we carry out the spirits of our ancestors with us. In the olden days, the only way to get by by the mountain or around it for hunting and fishing and gathering was by canoe. Today, we use contemporary means of getting to the mountain on our sacred journey. We still use the canoe, we still run, but some of our people make the journey to the mountain on bicycles, they walk, they use fancy canoes and paddles, and they also use, the kids have rollerbladed certain portions to the mountain. We also have people riding along in automobiles and trucks as road crew, tending to the runners and the bikers and the walkers and the canoers as they make their journey to the mountain. All very important individuals making their journey to the mountain. Out of respect for that journey and pride in that journey, Barry's sister, Kelly, has written a song called Katahdin, and we're honored by her presence here today to sing the song that she's written to honor our journey to the mountain. Kelly Demmons.
Let me just say that I've tried many times to write songs and I could never do it, but this song was truly spirit-given, and it was inspired by all those who participated. Thank you, Creator, for all you've given me, the sun, the moon, the Mother Earth, the birds up in the trees. And thank you Thank you for all you've given me. Yahweh, 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 Yahweh. For all my people, I pray to set them free from war and hate, division, from illness and disease. I pray for every race and nation, for peace and harmony. Please help us to live in unity. Yahweh, 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 Yahweh. I run, I walk, I roll a blade. I ride my bike out from the shade. I paddle upriver against the waves with the wind in my face. I offer up my prayers to you. I help out on the road crew too. I offer up this offering to heal the human race. Yahweh, 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 Yahweh. To Katahdin, we make a sacred vow. We offer up a sacrifice of pain for everyone. And each and every one of us plays a special part. It moves me down deep inside my heart. Yahweh, 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 Yahweh. I run, I walk, I roll a blade. I ride my bike out from the shade. I paddle upriver against the waves with the wind in my face. I offer up my praise to you. I help out on the road crew too. I offer up this offering to heal the human race. Yahweh, 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 Yahweh. Please join me. Yahweh, 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 Yahweh. One more time. Yahweh, 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 Yahweh,
so beautiful. Wow. I realized that I left out probably the most important element of this whole thing, this whole book thing anyway, and that's Tilbury House Publishers. Because when I first approached them to redo this book, Jennifer said, nope, sorry. These pictures are too old. The film's kind of weird and too old, and we can't do it. It wouldn't sell. So I said, oh, well, let's take another look at that. And I had the film, and I had it reprinted by a company in Taiwan and sent it to Jennifer, and she took one look at it and said, whoa, these are gorgeous. Let's do it. So she's represented here today by Rebecca. And I think you had a couple words you wanted to say? Sure, well, it's just a last thing.
I'll be quick because I know we've been here for a while, but thank you. I am here representing Tilbury House this morning, and for those of you who might not know of us, Tilbury House is a small independent publisher in Gardner, and we do both children's and adult titles, and our adult books tend to have a main historical focus, so certainly Greatest Mountain was a wonderful, or is a wonderful fit for us. We've only just begun with this book. As Connie mentioned, this book was first done 30 years ago, and when she did approach Jennifer and got the film thing all straightened out, we were most intrigued by Connie's broader vision for this book this time, and also for her desire to bring the Native American worldview and the connection to Katahdin together. And we really think this book is going to open eyes and open minds, and we're very, very proud to be part of this project. On a quick personal note, I've only been at Tilbury House for a couple of months, so therefore I've only worked with Connie for a couple of months, and I just today met a lot of the other authors from the book. But I'm really excited about the summer and the book signings and the events and the appearances that we've got planned. I think that it's going to be a lot of fun getting this book out to the public, and I think it's going to be really, really well received. And you can't help but getting caught up in the excitement and the passion and commitment that Connie has to this project. So I'm looking forward to being a part of it. Thank you.
I just want to say that they're offering, their books are fabulous, heart-centered books. I don't know if any of you have come across them. I'm sure you have in the bookstores, but I'm really proud to be a part of the offering from Tilbury House and feel very comfortable that they're on the same track that all of the authors and myself and Katahdin is in bringing beauty to the world. So thank you. Guess that's it.
Connie?
Oh yeah, I'll do the presentation of the books.
Connie?
Yes.
Want me to say a word?
Yeah. Oh yeah, my dad. He's still got a couple minutes. I have a nice Katahdin story I could tell you at the very end. It's kind of interesting. But here, Dad.
Connie told me I had to speak, so I spent all this time thinking what to speak, and I didn't want to waste it. As Connie says, she came to me with this project back in 1972, which I supported financially, and never expected to get my money back. But then I'm particularly proud of her because we talked about, or I conceived that this ought to be reprinted sometime, and I was coming back to Maine every couple of years, and I was saying, gee whiz, I ought to do something about that. I ought to do something about that. But I never did. And finally, Connie grabbed hold of the concept, and when Connie grabs hold of something, get out of the way, 'cause it's going to happen. I tell her if she'd gone the other direction, she'd be president of IBM by now. But anyway, as she told you, she got turned down once by Tilbury House, but that doesn't matter. Just get out of the way. And sure enough, it's now come to pass, and I think she's done a terrific job, and I'm very proud of her. I have a couple of anecdotes about Uncle Percy and the mountain, and take a little credit maybe for the book, but I'm not sure Connie agrees with this. But when I was in the legislature in the 60s, and most particularly in 1962, I was majority leader of the House, and as such I saw a lot of Austin Wilkins, who, as you know, was Forestry Commissioner and part of the Baxter State Park Authority. I became convinced at that time that the state was quite embarrassed that it wasn't able to open up the park more in a more modern way and let more people in. And that they were just waiting for Uncle Percy to die to get that done. So as I was leaving the state to go to Oregon, I said to my father, and I'm sure to Connie, that thought that the mountain was going to need some kind of protection after Uncle Percy died. And I think, and Connie correct me on this, that my father conceived the formation of the advisory committee. I don't think that's statutory, is it, Buzz? No. No, it's just strictly non-statutory. And so that was formed, and I think that's been of great help to the park. And I sort of thought that that put the bug in Connie's mind to produce the book to call people's attention to what Uncle Percy thought and said as he was in the process of putting the park together and so forth and so on. The second anecdote is I was majority leader, and we have a thing in the House and the legislature called cloture, which means you can't introduce any bills after that certain date. And we had total discipline in the House, thanks to Harvey Pease, who was clerk of the House. So every time one of our members asked to introduce a bill he'd forgotten about or something, I would be the guy who objected, because there weren't going to be any more bills submitted, or we'd be there all summer. So one morning, John Reed, the governor, called me up and said, your uncle wants to donate $500,000 to the park. He's afraid that the legislature won't appropriate enough money to keep it going the way it should. And I said, well, Governor, you know, that requires a statute, and we've had cloture. No statute. He said, your uncle is on the way to the State House now. He said, call my nephew, and he'll get the job done. So the first thing I had to do was go in the House and make a speech and ask for exception to the cloture rule, which I had denied everybody up till then. And of course there were lots of hoops and hollows, but they all knew it was for $500,000. So the hoops and hollows didn't last too long. And it usually takes 4 or 5 days to get a bill through the both branches of the House and grossed and printed and all that, and finally enacted. And I worked with Sam Schlossberg, who's in charge of that department, and had it on the governor's desk that afternoon. Meantime, my uncle had come to the State House and was in the governor's office. And I thought this was a very typical of Uncle Percy, who was a very, very modest man. And the governor said to Uncle Percy, wouldn't you like to go to the lectern, to the dais in the House when that bill is finally enacted? And he said, no, I really don't want to do that because I'm afraid I might influence their vote. So that was typical of him. So I think that's about all I have to say, except, oh yes, I wanted very much to thank all the Wabanaki people for this gathering and this dedication and so forth. It's been wonderful meeting you all, and we greatly appreciate your sponsorship of this meeting. It's been really, very, very wonderful, and thank you.
Oh. I know the Penobscot people are here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you for your kind words. The Maliseet people, we'll get one to them. The Passamaquoddy people, Micmac. Oh, right, I like Micmac. Okay, so anyway, if everybody's not bored yet, I'll tell you one nice little story. And that is that when I set out last fall to come out here I knew I was coming out here to tell my truth in a land that I didn't know if it was time or if the people were ready to hear what I have been carrying, what I've been learning, and what I know. And so when I left home, I took a rose quartz crystal with me because the rose quartz crystals are heart-centered, heart chakra crystals, and I brought this with me and I carried it everywhere I went when I got to Maine, and I was meeting with all the aspects of the controversy over the North Woods, what to do with the North Woods. And I met with probably 25 or 30 people on all sides of this controversy. These people who are at loggerheads at this time as to what to do with the heritage that we have in our hands of the North Woods, as the paper companies out and the ownership was hands. So I took this crystal, and it was this long, skinny thing. I didn't like the shape of it very much. It wasn't real crystally looking. It was kind of long, skinny thing. And I took it with me in my pocket to every meeting with the hopes that this crystal would help open people's hearts to lift ourselves up a little to the next level so we can come to a solution with what to do with the North Woods in the future. And after about 2 weeks, I took the crystal out and I was sitting waiting for somebody for lunch or something. I was looking at it, and I looked at it, and I went, my God, it's in the exact shape of Mount Katahdin. And it totally blew me away. I mean, how can that be? I mean, it has the knife edge, it has the tableland, it has everything. So I showed it to a friend that I later met for lunch, who's on the Baxter Advisory Committee, and I showed it to him, and I said, what does this look like to you? And he looked at it, and he thinks, he didn't say anything, so I started to take it back, and he said, no, wait a minute, that's Mount Katahdin. So it wasn't just a figment of my imagination. So Mount Katahdin, I don't know what it's all about, but there's something going on that's bigger than all of us. And I'm looking forward to working with those energies in the future. Thank you.
Penobscot Nation, we wish you well in your endeavors and your book, and a very special person, very special book about a very special place. And now we've got to wrap this up because we get ready for the grand entry in a few moments. I really thank you all for coming for this very special dedication to this special book, and the Wabanaki people and the friends and family of Connie and Buzz and all others. Thank you very much for coming. Good day.